What about doing a dopamine detox?
Oh, those are fun.
Is there actually a benefit to doing this?
Yeah, the guy who invented that is a friend, Cam, who runs Maximus, one of the testosterone enhancement companies. And manipulating dopamine is one of the things in heavily meditated that's particularly important. You could do no caffeine, no nicotine, no spicy or delicious foods, and no stimulation for a week. You might as well go fast in a cave if you're going to do that. And there's benefits to it. But there's another hack that's new to the world of biohacking that I'm introducing in heavily meditated, and it's called bicep. And it's not like this kind of bicep on your arm, brief intentional conscious exposure to pain. And this might be better than a dopamine fast. Monks used to whip themselves. Your self-flagellation, have you heard of this? Yogis lay on beds of nails. Right? And I used to think, well, the monks think they're sinners, they're punishing themselves. The yogis are laying on beds of nails to prove they're good yogis. That's not why they do this at all. It's because brief intentional conscious exposure to pain for 1 to 3 minutes, if you do that without harming your body, it resets your dopamine sensitivity by about 250%. It means it takes less dopamine to motivate you for the rest of the day. So the monk was self-flagellating because it made it easier to stay in monk mode. And the yogi did it because he was a better yogi because it took less dopamine to motivate him. And biohackers, we take a cold shower, get in ice water, or Texans, which I also am, you eat some spicy peppers. Humans have been doing this forever, and there's a rich history in all the different lineages I've studied. So doing something that's painful for 2 or 3 minutes, it works.
So is your recommendation the cold plunge of like something painful, or should you like actually just be like just whipping yourself?
I like to hire people to whip me because it really just is more fun that way.
You're in Vegas,
You
so
ever
you could
tried
probably-
that?
How
You
do you are they a type 1 or 2 person? Or
you definitely want a win-win scenario there.
Okay.
So you type 1.
Okay.
I just ask my
It's like the
girlfriends.
win-lose is easier.
Yeah. If you have a friend who can help. No. There's other benefits from cold plunges. There's metabolic benefits. And there's a separate dopamine benefit that no one's talked about in cold plunges. So if you're like, I'm not motivated today, do something that hurts, right? Intentionally hurts. And it's funny, a cold plunge is a great way to do it. One tribe even uses eye drops that are super painful. And you put them in, you're like, it really hurts. And then you get really clear vision from it. But the exposure to pain is what caused the neurochemistry to change. So eat a habanero, like do whatever's going to work for you.
How important is strength training or cardio for longevity?
Strength training is really important for longevity. VO2 max is important for longevity, but VO2 max doesn't mean you need to do cardio. And that sounds a little bit weird. What I do for cardio is based on AI. It takes 15 minutes a week, and that's 3 5-minute sessions. And in them, you never sweat. It's not hard. That gives you 6 times better results than an hour a day of cardio. So cardiorespiratory fitness is important, but not as important as muscle strength and then muscle mass, right? And there are some people out there who are saying, oh, VO2 max, you have to do zone 2 training for 6 hours a week. And those are actually the same people who take statins still for longevity, which is nuts. So what you'll find is that raising VO2 max is simple if you know the algorithms, and we use AI for that. And strength training, once or twice a week, put on some muscle mass, be strong. And those are really important. But going to the gym for an hour a day every day is probably not even good for you. Most people overtrain and go to the gym every day. I see it over and over. This guy's like, I've been going for 20 years and I've had both shoulders replaced and I have a big pot belly. I'm like, yeah, that's a cortisol
I think that's a
overtraining
very
belly.
small percentage of people that go to the gym that often, that actually, break down their muscles. And
Oh, it's not, because very few people go to the gym that often. The ones who do, that's what happens, right? That happened to me too. I went 18 months, 6 days a week. At the end of it, I'm still fat, right? And so overtraining is a major thing. So people either undertrain or they overtrain. And one of my goals here is to tell people, here's the minimum effective training that you can do in an hour or 2 a week that hits all of the things for longevity, including training your brain, training your strength, training your cardio in very small amounts of time. And it's all powered by AI. That's what Upgrade Labs does. Because I don't want to spend my time in the gym. I got shit to do, but I will if necessary.
What's a question that you wished more people would ask you?
Not a lot of people ask about like why I do what I do. I think they think that it's because of money or because of some kind of like an ego thing. And I'm not motivated by like, I want to feed 1 billion people or whatever. I started my blog and started sharing all this information. I just wanted 5 people not to go through all the suffering I went through. And that's been my motivation. I didn't make a list. I didn't do any of the stuff you're supposed to do. I'm like, I'm just going to share this stuff because people need to know. And it was like 2 decades of accumulating all this knowledge, both the spiritual stuff and heavily meditated, as well as all the physiological longevity stuff. And that's still what motivates me today. I mean, I can probably stop it. I'm like, so many people are just walking around feeling like shit and treating each other like shit because they don't know how good they could feel. Right. And sometimes it's a harder problem. Sometimes it's a softer problem. It's just not that hard anymore. So I'm motivated because I think we need an upgrade as a species and that it's not that hard to do it. So I just keep doing it because I think it matters, but it isn't because I'm seeking recognition. Like I tried the fame thing in my early 20s and it doesn't do anything. It's actually inconvenient. So yeah, that the motivation thing is really interesting. It's just I have suffered greatly and I would prefer other people not go through all the crap I went through because it's not fun and it's totally avoidable. So that's why I do what I do.
So
Why do you think a lot of the claims that you make are so controversial?
Everyone has a lens on reality that is functional for them. And we do that to make ourselves feel safe. So anytime someone penetrates your lens on reality, it creates cognitive dissonance, which makes you feel unsafe. And it doesn't make you think you're unsafe. It makes your body feel unsafe. Like, oh, that shifted my worldview. The number of people who got outraged when I told them to put butter in coffee is insane. Okay, butter is a safe food, but people literally thought they were like putting it in the blender like, oh my God, can I really do that the first time? Like I'm walking on, it's like, what? We've been programmed. So the other thing is people get really mad when I say, I'm going to do something that hasn't been done before. You know who else really pissed people off? The Wright brothers. We're going to fly. And then, in fact, I have a video I made where you have all these people saying, it's never going to happen, then they do it. In fact, every great leap in human capability starts with the people who are from the old generation saying it can't be done. I have the audio of the chairman of the FCC saying that satellites will never be used for communication. We have Einstein saying that the power of the atom will never be harnessed to make electricity, right? So what happens is humans are usually backwards looking, and it's always been that way. But we are entering a world where it's not just exponential, it's double exponential. So the future looks very different than the past. And people get mad because there are rules that they've been following their whole life. And some of those people, their whole career is based on enforcing rules that are bad for humanity. And how dare this computer hacker come in and say something different? And I'm like, how dare you not be curious? Because the way science works is if you have one data point that disproves your theory, the theory is still useful. It's just not accurate. But what's happening in the world now is you have this belief that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That's anti-science. Science says a claim requires the same amount of evidence no matter if it's extraordinary or not. If you think it's extraordinary, maybe it's because you're an idiot, right? No claim is extraordinary. The data is the data. So when I come up there and I say, I have data that if you blend butter in your coffee, it really does something for you. I was right. It works. About 7 years later, I funded research at the University of Washington with Dr. Gerald Pollack for $50,000. And he's been studying basic water chemistry inside cells. And he said, we just determined that butter oil and MCT oil create the largest amount of structured water called exclusion zone water in cells. Now, there's a whole bunch of nonsense structured water stuff that's out there. This is stuff you can see on a microscope. For your cells to function to make ATP, they need to change the viscosity of water a little bit. It turns out the Tibetans who came up with this idea, they would churn butter and tea in a butter churn for a while before they would drink it. And I'm like, why would they do that? Well, it doesn't work if you don't blend it. So could I make the claim based on an observation and a testable observation without knowing why it works? Yes, I could. Why did it make people mad? I don't know. But I think it's because they felt unsafe because the world might have been different than the safe little story they had. The reality is our bodies cannot sense 99.99999% of the actual reality happening out there. You got to be comfortable with that.
So if you're to explain in 30 seconds, someone with an unlimited budget that feels fine, that wants to just go out and get every single piece of data that they can possibly want to improve their health, what should they do?
Well, you're going to spend about $10,000, maybe even $50,000 on lab tests just to get all the data, right? You'd want to do a whole body MRI for sure. You want to do a full human genome, not just the 23andMe stuff. And then you want to get your cardiorespiratory fitness and things like that done. And once you have that stuff, you want to get a QEEG, which is part of what we do at 40 Years of Zen, to what's going on inside your brain. And the combination of those things are going to give us a really good picture of your toxin load, your mitochondrial function, your hormone levels, your inflammatory molecule levels, whether you have an aneurysm or any other thing going on in your body that you don't know about, early stage cancer. And based on that, what are your goals? And once we have the data, we're going to sit down and say, okay, is your goal, you want a brain that's way better, right? Do you want more stress management, more capacity, more resilience? Do you want to live longer? Do you want to increase your bone density? Whatever it is, there's a path to doing that we understand now that we didn't understand 10 years ago. And it's ridiculous what's possible. I had surgery on my foot for an old yoga injury, and they had to cut through the bone on the foot all the way through it. And so I was awake for it because it was interesting and it was numb anyway. And you hear the bone saw. It's like, "Boosh." And the doctor looks and he goes, I'm having a hard time cutting through his bone. Like, is this guy even human? And I did a podcast with him about it. And afterwards, he's like, Dave, what is up with your bone density? I've never seen this. He said, I operated on someone half your age and their bones cut like butter, and I can't even get through your bones with my saw. Well, that's biohacking. Bone density is one of the biggest indicators of a healthy metabolism, and they're going to live a long time. And it comes from the right nutrient intake, avoiding toxins, and then exposing the body to things that make it harder and stronger. So if you have a big budget, you can totally add 20, 30 years to your lifespan, and they'll be really good years. And you see these cowardly people in the field of longevity saying, oh, it's not about extending human life. It's just about health span. You're going to die at 86 the same way you were, but at least you'll be healthy until you die. And I'm like, why? Like, how dare you call yourself a longevity doctor and say you can't extend human life? The goal is to extend our life and to extend our quality of life, both. And people who say you can only extend the quality of your life and you're going to die at the same age as everyone else, why? They never have an answer. So let's set the goals right. Double lifespan and feel way better when you're 150 than you do when you're 50. Why not? We have the technology. We have the tools. It's possible. And there are people doing it, including me.